Good morning, good morning. My name is Jennifer Tom,
And I'm Darlene Rempel.
and it's Wednesday, and we've got our coffee, and I'm so excited. Please invite a friend, invite your community to come have coffee with us because today is a very, very special day. As you know, the whole month and our whole theme has been sharing stories that heal. And we had an amazing guest. I hope you've checked it out on podcast. And today we have another amazing guest, and we feel so blessed to really have our friends, our community share their stories. Because as we were saying last week, the importance of sharing stories. And I will just recap. Darlene, I shared the first one was we honor the deceased. Like me sharing my story about my dad. I feel I'm honoring my dad. So honoring the deceased. And number two was
Validation and connection. So it was acknowledging and validating our losses and also that connection we have with people when we share our stories.
I love that, the connection and then we also talked about emotional release. Every time we share a story, we share, that's why we call them stories that heal, and it's so amazing. And today we're just gonna go add one more. The advantage of sharing stories is learning and growth, learning and growing. I find personally, every time I hear someone's story, I learn something and I grow. And the key is, as people share their stories, is to listen with a heart with ears. Mostly, if we listen with our intellect or our head, we call it, we actually don't hear and we miss out on the learning and growing. Like our previous story, just hearing how she dealt with the losses, I'm like, I could have used that. Or you just think, oh my goodness, if you meet someone else who's going or dealing with a loss, you can share something that you've learned. So this is a learning place. So I will not talk anymore because I love talking, I love telling stories, but I won't because I want Darlene to introduce our guest. And I just want to say we are so blessed and thankful to people who are sharing their stories, stories that heal. There you go, Darlene.
Awesome. So we want to introduce. Hi, Clay.
Hi,
Well,
Clay.
good morning.
Good morning, Clay. So good to have you here. Okay, I'll be quiet.
So I'm going to introduce Clay. He's been an amazing person that I've met, and he's been helping me with equine assisted learning, and we've just really connected. Clay grew up in Saskatchewan in a farming ranching community. He spent most of his career in the medical field. He started school in Saskatchewan, post-secondary. He's also worked on a ranch in Foremost, and he has worked in the medical field as a certified nursing assistant, LPN, EMT. He's accredited firefighter and much more. And in his spare time, when he's not doing those things, he likes working with heavy equipment. So he's a man of many talents, and we really appreciate him. Clay has 3 daughters who live in Alberta and 4 grandkids. Clay met his wife, Sue, who is a registered nurse, in 2003 at the Brooks Hospital. They were married for 19 years. Clay spends his retirement helping others and taking care of his cats.
Oh.
Full-time job.
We love Clay and his sense of humor, so we're excited to have you on Creep Talk and to share just a little bit more about your life, your stories.
Well, I'm not sure how you wanted me to lead it into this, or
we had a few questions for you. So just about describe your life before your loss. Tell us a little bit about some of the losses in your life and just what it was like before.
Okay. Yeah, Sue and I had met each other while working at the Brooks Health Center as it was mentioned, she's an RN, and I worked on the ambulance service. And as we both, the ambulance service worked out of the hospital, then we interacted with nursing staff, with patient care. They helped us, we helped them. And so we just started to relate more and more and realize that we had a very similar outlook on different aspects. Both of us had a certain type of personality, kind of a nurturing, caring a personality, and we're relatively easygoing, to a point, I guess, without without getting defeated, kind of thing. But so we just hit it off, and then let's see. Yeah, our mutual interests outside the health field also helped us along. In that Sue liked her crafts. She liked photography. She liked drawing. She liked making wire wrap jewelry, Stampin' Up, doing cards for individuals that just because she wanted to give somebody something to cheer up their day, to brighten up, if they felt that they're being forgotten about or neglected, or even so would just hear that they were hearing troubles, and they would usually get a nice little Stampin' Up card with a nice little message of hope, and just all the good things that that come from the heart. And so she pretty much worked as an RN for all her career. She had trained at the Foothills School of Nursing and worked there until she had a back injury. And then after that, she kind of scaled it down and worked at home care at the Brooks Health Center as well after she left Calgary. But gradually her back and her illnesses kind of caught up with her. So she scaled it down and spent most of her time doing crafts, to the point of I would see her for about maybe 20 minutes. What are you watching on TV? I'd tell her what's on TV, and then she'd say, I'll be right back up. And I'd look at my watch and I think, okay, that'll be 6 hours. If she would say, I'll be a little longer, then I know it's 8 hours. We'd go up and down the stairs doing projects and getting supplies, and just all the wonderful things that she loved doing. She loved pretty things. She loved helping people, and most of all, she loved giving to others. And her joy was watching somebody else's face light up from getting a card or getting good news, and that she always stayed on the periphery. And with her having had somewhat of a difficult background, but with her family life and such, then she never quite did fit in to what she would have liked to, as far as a normal family, because that was not in her background. She didn't have that as a repertoire to fall back on and say, well, this is a good life, or this is whatever. She just didn't have a yardstick to measure these things against, other than her own private world, which was not very nice. But so we let's see. Yeah, we began dating, and this would be probably about 6 months after we had met each other. And then we started to realize we're getting kind of serious. But we were both kind of smitten, and we cautiously and vaguely made references to the M word, the marriage word. And so we felt we were receiving favorable responses from the other one, but still we hadn't made any commitment, any commitment other than, hey, this is neat. Now what do we do? So, and as guys, you kind of, what happened? Not just what is happening, what happened? Guys are always a little slower on the uptake. But then we had then one evening in January, January 4th, I believe was 2004, we'd gone to Calgary and had supper at the Olive Garden restaurant, and it was a salad. It was fresh, which was a treat, and nice warm rolls fresh from the oven. All these things, and so we had. I think I had. Uh, Prime rib for myself. I always had something with beef in it, just to be a patriot. And Sue had veal parmesan, and so that was, that was our the start of the evening. Then uh, I kind of cautiously produced a little blue jewelry box and said, "Will you marry me?" And she kind of looked at me, and I thought, "Oh, I've made her feel uncomfortable, and she doesn't say how to say no." so, so I was prepared for the letdown, and I was going to try to be nonchalant about it, kind of thing. And even though the tears were almost there, but big boys don't cry, apparently. And so she looked at me and she paused for a moment, and I thought, this is a long moment. And she looked like she was holding back tears, and I thought, oh, this is going to be worse than I thought. This is not going to be pretty. So, and then she said, yes, I will marry you. But said, I was afraid you would never ask.
Oh,
That's the guy thing again. Right moment. Well,
Yeah.
oh, awesome. That's a great memory, Clay. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. So then about 5 months later, on May 14th, yeah, then we were married at Sue's brother and sister-in-law at their home in Calgary. And there's a justice of the peace and a small group consisting mostly of family members and close friends. So it was very informal. And when Sue was kind of coming down the aisle, and she looked like she was going to tear up, and she looked at me, and I gave her a big wink, and she started laughing. And so then she said, I can do it. So, and then it just followed through, and so it was the beginning of a close and loving relationship. It was a marriage between two best friends. I couldn't ask for a better start, too. And um, we shared our hopes, our dreams, our fears, and we were always looking forward to the next morning. And just the anticipation of what that morning would bring, and or what surprises the next day would bring. We're always being optimistic about what it's going to be, what kind of joys is it going to have, what kind of just wonderful things are going to come our way. So we, that was what our biggest thing was, the joys in life. And then every night we'd give each other a genuine hug, followed by a kiss, and I'll see you in the morning. And I love you. Have a good sleep. And Sue always had her crafts, her quilting, her making jewelry, artwork, photography, but her passion was making these Stampin' Up! Cards and all these The cards took numerous hours to complete. They're so detailed and so meticulously executed. And usually the only time I would see Sue was when she'd come upstairs and say, have I got the lighting right on this? Have I got the shading right on this? And then she'd go back downstairs and do a little more. And then she'd come up and say, how do I make the eyes appear warmer? Gotta put a little dot of light in each one, just a tiny one, not so obliterates the eye, but just so the person that's watching it can spot it in there. And it just builds a little bit of a rapport with whatever your subject is. So she would come up with all these different ideas and different crafts. And I kind of learned a lot of terminology about quilting and fat quarters and bedding and what flannels are the best used for receiving blankets. So they were always, it was an education. And just because I like learning things, I sponged up a lot of these things so I could at least appear to know what I was talking about. And so if her friends were around, and I don't know whether they were suitably impressed or whether they were kind of, but I'd like to think that they were suitably impressed. And I'm going to stick with that thought. And but her cards were always contained messages of hope, friendship, loving, caring, just all the wonderful things that she wished on anybody and everybody. No matter whether they were a long lost friend or somebody she had just met, they were automatically her friend. And I think she regarded people as strangers as being friends that she hadn't met yet. And that was her kind of view on people. And it was always an automatic smile when she was meeting someone for the first time or whatever, or thinking about something. And it always caused other people to smile right back, and it broke the ice and started the formation of a bond, of a relationship bond, where there's a feeling that there's a friendship in the making. There's a friendship that was there and didn't have to be worked at, that you were just accepted for whatever you were. So, and then yes, she loved her craft. That was her go-to thing. And if she had problems, she never would say that much about the problems. She kept a lot of these things to herself and just kind of dealt with it. Even hurts from other individuals, she would never chastise them or going into arguments with other people. She always thought that being loving and warm would dispel any negative feelings or anything that could be considered as criticism or whatever. And that way there's no resentments if they weren't formed in the first place, and they didn't have a chance to. But and then and for myself, I usually spent a lot of time reading, writing short stories, woodworking, cabinet making, being with nature, being with my daughters whenever possible. Just a homebody type thing, just a nice, comfortably. Just and then for the two children that Sue and I had, well, we call them children, but they're two calico cats, and they have they have wild personalities. They don't really fit in the category of felines, I don't believe, but they told us they were, so we got their word for it. But Sue often described them as spawns of Satan. Terminology. So she loved cats, but these ones were they were on a different level. But and then just before Christmas, I had woken and I'd gotten up to feed the cats, as was part of my usual routine. and just went out to the front room. And Sue had gone to sleep in the recliner while she was watching TV. And so I had looked at her and I thought maybe I should just let her sleep, because just that she never usually sleeps in the morning or sleeps in, and she's always up looking after the cats or trying to convince herself that she's not really annoyed that much with the cats, but that never really quite worked as well as she wanted to. But I had looked at her, and she was so peacefully sleeping, and I thought I'd let her sleep a little longer. So, but as I drew near to her, then I realized that she wasn't sleeping, and that she was not going to work. That she was not going to wake up. I'd assessed her, as I did with many patients over the years that had been in similar circumstances, and she was pulseless. She wasn't breathing. Um, her pupils were fixed and dilated. Her skin was dry and cool. And so I called the ambulance, and I began providing ventilations with Sue and doing compressions on her. And she was still in a recliner chair. And I was unable to get her out of the chair to do these things on her properly. So I did the best that I could while she was in the chair, and I had broken the arm off the activating arm off the recliner by trying to pull it to allow the recliner to go forward and to move her out. But and so then I continued this for it seemed like about 10 or 12 minutes, doing mouth to mouth to provide ventilations, doing chest compressions, just doing all those things. And it was all things that I had been taught as a professional and had exercised them hundreds to thousands of times over the years with different patients. And so then two paramedics had arrived, and I continued doing chest compressions, and one of the other paramedics did ventilations, and then set up the cardiac monitor and IVs. And then between the three of us, we managed to get her out of the chair and lay her down. She was still non-responsive, and nothing was working. And so they had set up the defibrillator, and they attached the cardiac monitor leads, and the defibrillation paddles were ready. Then an RCMP officer arrived. I knew him. Two firemen arrived, and I knew, excuse me, I knew them as well. I'd worked with them. Then a neighbor who was a fireman also arrived, who I obviously knew as well. Then a lady from the victim's assistants arrived, and I had known her as well. And I had worked with these people under similar circumstances. Many times in very similar circumstances. And that was the morning of December 10th, 2022. So sometime between when we'd said our good nights at about 10 o'clock in the evening and 8 o'clock the following morning, she had passed away in her sleep. She had no distress, no evidence of any distress of anything. She had just gone to sleep peacefully and passed away. So that was 2 weeks before Christmas. So it was 2 weeks before Christmas that she passed away, and it was 2 months after she had just had her 60th birthday, with her biggest worry about how things were going to change for the for the for the new year following her birthday. And I realized that I had functioned in my professional mode as I had done so many times before, hundreds to thousands of times, in nearly identical circumstances and situations as I had been trained, as a professional. But there is feeling of detachment on my heart, or on my part, and I was still distancing myself and regarding Sue as a patient, and a patient who had not been successfully resuscitated. And that was still my mindset with her, was that was the situation that kept me from the reality of facing facing what was going on, and the enormity of that event, that thing. Um, yeah, different times when I would look at her when we were doing our procedures and different things to her, and I try to convince myself that that's Sue. But every time I would look away, no, it's just a patient. And so that continued on for, where I would think, oh, that she was along the lines of, oh, she's just another patient. I really didn't want reality to set in. I was incapable of coping with it, or even understanding it at that patient, or at that point. But so we then, after all this and the unsuccessful resuscitation attempts, then a funeral was held at our church. And it was a very nice service conducted by a justice of the peace, and was mostly co-workers and some of our relatives that were present. There was actually quite a few people there, and that she had made an awful lot of friends over the years, and people that she related with. And even though she didn't know them that well, she had already formed a bond with them in a short time that she had been there. But then following that, there are many people through cards, personal condolences, and phone calls. They expressed their sympathy, and I didn't feel alone because there was humanity around. There were so many people around that kind of acted as a buffer to the scenario that was unfolding. And but then after the people left, her friends, her family, some of my friends, my family, then the quietness settles in, and I had began to convince myself that there wasn't a bad dream, that I would wake up from, that everything would be the same as it was the day before. The day before, we had been in Medicine Hat and gone shopping, and it was a wonderful, loving day. Nothing unusual, nothing that portended anything negative was about to unfold or anything. So, but I think I regarded it more as it was surreal. It was as if you were in a cloud, and the cloud was around you and encompassing you, and you couldn't really see what the reality was. There was just a nice soft cloud that was, the scene was just buffering you. And I remember thinking that, this mist or this cloud, it's going to dissipate in the morning. It's going to be gone, and everything is going to be normal. And I think I grieved more. I began to grieve more and more outwardly with, with many tears. And I think I grieved and I cried until I felt there were no more tears left to cry. And I think my feelings were that I was trying to convince myself that with fewer tears remaining, there was less grief remaining, and that the pain,
Mhm.
the hurt, and the loneliness was finally departing from me. And often I'd ask myself, if this feeling of loss and grief would ever end, and would life ever be, quote unquote, normal again? And it was a crushing event. It was a totally crushing event. And I guess you could term it as in my world, it was an earth shattering event, a world
Mhm.
shattering event, only it was my world
Mm.
that was being shattered. And I still remain in my in the house, like in my home kind of thing. And but there remains a quietness and a stillness, a lack of spontaneity, and a loss of humanity that just is not existent, and it's a feeling of the joy has been removed, as if somebody has taken a spoon and just removed it and put it away somewhere. And then I thought, can these things ever be replaced? Can they be repaired? Can things be enjoyed again? And
Mhm.
I also thought, would I dare want them to be? In that how I would respond to them, how I would react to circumstances, situations, to just various other things in life. And I think with Sue's passing or dying, and then I'm just getting able to accept these terms as they are, and the finality of this situation that they portend. And the loss was that of a true friend, a true love, and a true soulmate, someone who's irreplaceable with an inestimable intrinsic value, just an uh, irreplaceable qualities. And I feel that I have lost a good part of myself when I lost her, because so many of things in our lives were intertwined and could no longer be shared. They could no longer be enjoyed without that feeling of sadness, of sorrow, of emptiness, of loneliness. All these things that had replaced the things that were joyful, were laughter, were just all the wonderful things in the world. And they no longer existed, not in my world anyway. And I feel that she made in good part, she
Mhm.
made me what I have become, and that I am so much the richer for that.
Mhm.
But I also feel that the world is so much poorer without her, and without the qualities that she possessed and she exhibited, and her love for everybody. And
Mhm.
so that was the biggest thing with one of the biggest things with her passing was the loss that I had suffered,
Mhm.
and but what I had gained through different things she had taught me during our time together in our growth, um, towards in our Christian walk, and she was a tutor for a lot of things. She could explain a lot of things with her background, and I just became more and more enamored of her and her goodness, and the Christianity aspect, just all the wonderful things that were there, just that made us complete. And I think we both had our own dreams, but we dreamt them together.
Mm.
And like I dreamt of maybe an acreage with populated by cats, dogs, horses, maybe even a few goats. I always thought that'd be nice.
Yeah.
I don't know how many people would share my values or my perspective of my pets, but the peace and serenity of a pastoral setting, just that whole environment would just be one of those things that it'd be priceless, in itself. And just things like waking up to a beautiful sunrise and a magnificent sunset, and just saying, "Wow, that's beyond belief. Did you see that? Oh wow!" And just be overawed with just the magnificence of so many things. But and her dreams were to have a bigger craft room. She needed one because the 3 rooms that she had weren't big enough, apparently.
Yeah.
And they kind of migrated into every room of the house, kind of thing. So I would usually just move her crafts to a different corner. And I would leave, she would move them back. And we
Yeah.
all I was in and continue with whatever craft she was doing, either upstairs or downstairs. And
Yeah.
or quite often like two ships that pass in the night, kind of thing, like kind of sometimes. How was your day? Always good. How was yours? Always good. I'll talk later.
Yeah.
So conversations were a little bit short, and it's not that they were negative or resentful or things of that sort. It didn't appear to be that at that time. Yeah, so and but I guess with her hobbies, she just wanted to have all this extra space to be able to draw more, to do more artwork, to do more Stampin' Up. And their happiest times were when we made each other happy. When Sue would make other people happy or make myself happy, or when we made each other happy and completed each other. Our joy was in the giving and in the surprise and happiness of the receiving. And I had anticipated that we would grow older together with many more leisurely mornings, waking up in each other's arms and excitedly watching the soft little pink fluffy clouds nestled around a barely rising sun, and just gawking at it and being awestruck with that, and the grass still damp with dew, and then the sun moving it off, and just watching all the wonderful things unfolding in nature, that unless we felt that unless you stopped to smell the roses, you would never realize their true value or because it's the little things that have meant so much, that accumulation of little thoughts, little memories, little pleasantries, just all those things. And I think uh, I would have liked to have helped Sue with some of her dreams. I would like to have been able to take her to Hawaii or to some of these places that she had been before, but she would like to take me there. And so had talked about it. We'd made a few plans, and they just didn't work out for timing or finances or all these things. And but we still shared those dreams and that those hopes or those expectations that one day that things will align, and that it will, they will set up. I know it would have made me so happy being able to surprise her with something like that, and just to see her face light up as it always did when something new and exciting was being addressed or found or discovered or noticed, or just all these things that the kind of just the happiness, I guess, seeing the true happiness that that is, it's one of those things you can't replace. Just seeing genuine happiness. And I find that with, as well as these things, my trust has somewhat deteriorated, and that I have been like with the arrival of this catastrophic event. It sometimes is overshadowed with the feeling that there's more devastating events still in the offing, and the just behind every sunrise, I'm afraid to enjoy happiness, and that there's a sorrow that comes along with it as its companion, and it kind of puts a little bit of a damper on things. Still working through that, trying to convince myself that that the comet that's going to hit Earth isn't going to be tomorrow. It's going to be 750 million years from now. So I'm trying to be optimistic about about that, and I wonder whether I can replace that happiness or regain that happiness, the love, the security that's basically all been stealthily removed, from life. And with the resultant, there's a hesitation on my part when making decisions, having been evinced uncertainty. There's a feeling of uncertainty, and with that, there's a certain feeling of vulnerability, uneasiness of the impermanence of anything in my world. That can change on a dime. But what will will I have the fortitude to endure the either further losses and concerns or worries, or just, and even if they're maybe not realistic, they do present themselves, and they do sit on my shoulder, and I carry them with me, and trying to rationalize things and tell myself, "Oh, you're being silly. Don't think that way." And then the little voice on the other side says, "Oh, but it could happen." Oh, what do you know? So I this little devil's advocate.
So Clay, thank you so much for being so vulnerable and sharing with us. That is so amazing. Just as we're kind of closing off a bit, what's one thing you would tell somebody, or one thing how you could encourage somebody, or maybe things that have encouraged you to continue moving forward?
I think a good part has been a little bit of time has come through, and as time has gone by, I've been able to balance both sides of the equation and be more rational of it. And I have realized that there is, the pot of gold is the sunshine that still does exist out there, and that I have to look more for it. And it is there. It does exist. And to anybody that is in a grief or a loss situation, it may seem so totally dark, but it will lighten up. And with the grief and loss program that I had taken, followed by the horse connections and the equine assisted learning, then that helped me balance those feelings of love and companionship that are out there, and the feeling that even with the horses, it's almost like having a service animal that is with you, a very big service animal, but it's nevertheless with you, and they're exceptionally good at listening because
You really should see Clay. He has like 3 horses who all come around him and snuggle him.
But so that was, and it has forced me to be more introspective, to look into myself and say to myself, well, you look at yourself in the mirror, you see that one person, look at yourself inside your heart, and you will find a different individual there that if you allow to come out and to exert itself, its presence, that you can find a happiness that is still dwelling in you, and that you can't be destroyed. It can be diminished for a while, but that's a temporary thing. It will flower, it will blossom again, and it's not the end of the road. And there's so many others out there that are in similar situations, and they suffer alone, and that there's a stigma attached to having had a death in the family. People don't know how to relate with you. You don't know how to relate with them. They don't know whether they've crossed a line or vice versa. And so you realize that there are a lot of fallacies in our beliefs about death and dying, and to just be able to have these dispelled, that stereotypically is not the answer. Everybody believes differently, and everybody has a different facade that they put on to the public, and then a different one when they're at home. They're by themselves and they're vulnerable, and they want to show that vulnerability.
Yes, thank you so much for being that vulnerable and just sharing with us. We love hearing your stories, Clay.
Yes, and just listening to Clay, like all the memories, even just sharing and acknowledging those memories that you had with your wife, and the things and the Olive Garden and your dinner, right? Like all those things that just we celebrate her life and we celebrate her being into this world. It was so well done. Like, thank you for sharing that. That just touched my heart. And how you said, like, her passion was helping others, and by giving and making someone's day lighter, right? To make someone's day brighter, or right. And so thank you. And those are the memories that we carry on. Those are the stories we carry on, right? And then, like I was just sharing with Darlene, those memories are the ones that make us even feel alive, like those special moments you had. And while you're sharing your story, that's how I felt. Like those were just big things that happened in your life with your wife that you enjoyed, and they'll forever be there, right? And I also loved how you said that we all grieve. It's actually we are all unique. We are all unique. We are all unique and grieve differently. So I just want to say thank you, Clay. Thank you. You took us on a journey. That was a journey. And I want to say thank you.
Oh no! Thank you so much. And I find it's cathartic to be able to. The more that I repeat it, the more it becomes part of a memory bank, and
Memory
it turns into a pleasant memory bank
Yes.
with the sting being removed.
Mhm.
And so
Wow.
it's all good.
Thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah. No, thank you. Yes, I love it so much. It's a memory bank. And every time we share, it's I'm not even gonna wreck that. That yours is so good. Memory bank forever. We need to share more. We need to share more. And Clay, we just appreciate you so much.
No, it was my pleasure being here. I was looking forward to coming out here and chatting with you folks.
Yeah.
And just going through there, just sharing, and that a loss for one person is a loss for all, and
Yeah.
it's just the way it is. We're all diminished a little bit.
Right. Yeah. So we encourage, if you're out there and you have a story to share with us, please connect with us. We love to hear the stories. We love that we can connect and be vulnerable, and you never know, your story could help someone. Like just listening to Clay just helped me, and we are a community where we can help each other. And until next Wednesday, keep sharing the stories that heal.
Oh, and
Yeah.
thank you so much. And my next story is maybe about horses.
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. We're looking forward to play.
Okay. Take care. Bye,
Bye-bye.
Clay. Have a good one. All
Bye
right.
now.
Bye.
Okay. I think we're off.
Tom speaking. Jennifer speaking. Very good.
Hello.
Yes. Yes, for sure. Yeah. Okay. Hello, Linda. How is it going? Oh, Linda, yes. You have some questions for me? I tried to call you earlier, Linda.
No, it's not.
Okay, okay.
You should be off, but
Uh,
you can shut the
we have
computer
the
down.
number.
We're
and
good.
The house number. We should be good.
Well, I'll let you shut it down in case
Yeah.
I do something.
Oh, you know what? Maybe we have to do that. Yeah, I don't know. Something's not working, but you can just shut the computer off. Well, it will not shut off. I hope it worked. Yeah.
tried getting on the site, like on the Facebook site,
Mhm.
and I'm not sure why it wasn't working for me.
Oh, it won't show up until Wednesday?
Okay, yeah, that was probably a couple weeks ago that I.
Oh,
tried it.
really?
But I
And you
haven't
couldn't
been
get
on
in?
since to look at it.
That
I'll have to
is
sign in
weird.
again and see if it's.
Yeah.
That would have probably would have been within a day or two. Laptops kind of thing.
Yeah. No, I think it's been going. Ah. I'm a little worried it's not ending properly.
You've got a seasonal affect disorder laugh.
Ah.